Hello, and welcome back to another episode of I'm Free Now What with me, Michelle Fortier, a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Florida. Today's topic is going to be the difference between adherent DBT and informed DBT. This topic really gets my panties in a bunch. So there's so many providers that when you look at their Psychology Today profile, when you look at their website, they say that they do DBT. When you call and you ask them, they don't do adherent DBT. And let me say this. There is nothing wrong with doing informed DBT. As long as you are telling your clients that what you are doing is not adherent, it is only informed. And now I'm going to go over the differences today so that way you know what to look for in a clinician if you want adherent DBT. I'm going to let you know what informed DBT looks like. I'm also doing this video in hopes to educate other clinicians. I don't think that they're doing this maliciously. I don't believe that they're doing it in order to trick people. I honestly believe they just don't know. And I can say that from experience. When I first started my practice, I really didn't know what adherent DBT was. And it was through somebody that was, I posted something on Instagram and on their picture, and they had said, "Hey, do you belong to a consultation team?" And I was like, "No, I don't." And they're like, "Well, then you're not doing adherent DBT." And I said, "Tell me more." And then I learned even more. I did more studying, more trainings, more working with this consultation team to really understand the difference between adherence and informed. And it makes a difference when we're interacting with clients, that we're giving them the correct information. And I see this now in my practice. I'll have clients that come in that say, "Oh, I've done DBT, it doesn't work." And then I ask, "Did you do phone coaching? Did your therapist belong to a consultation team?" And it is a no, it is a no. "Did you do diary cards?" No. And so then I have to go over, you unfortunately did not do adherent. So I'm not sure what you got when they said you got DBT. And so I'm really doing this video to really educate people about what to look for and about what to say when you're a clinician and you're doing informed DBT. So let's start with the basics. What does it mean to be adherent? So what that means is that we follow the protocols from Marcia's book, The Cognitive Behavioral Treatment of Borderline Personality Disorder. This in detail goes through the different interventions that we use, the different requirements that we have, how to handle suicidal patients, how to get buy-in into treatment, how to target certain behaviors. And so this book guides all our treatment. Even yesterday in consultation team, we broke out this book to figure out how to handle a certain situation. We read the protocols behind it so that way we could stay adherent. If you're a clinician that says that they do DBT, there's another provider out there that he has his own brand of DBT. I mean, even with that one, you would ask your provider if they follow the treatment manual, either for Marcia Lenihan, which I consider to be the gold standard, or for the other person. There has to be some sort of adherence to some sort of protocol. So one of the big differences that I've noticed when people say that they come in for DBT and that they've done DBT before is their past therapists didn't structure the session based around an agenda. So adherent DBT, we generally base the agenda around the diary card. And a diary card keeps track of suicidal thoughts, self-harm urges, drug use, emotions, misery. It allows clients to circle what skills that they've used. And so this sets our agenda. And in DBT, we target certain behaviors. And when we're in stage 1, We target first any life interfering behaviors like suicidal thoughts, self-harm urges, behaviors that could significantly interfere with life, like violence against others, high speed when you're racing cars, and it could end in death. If you are engaging in criminal activities that could send you to prison for life. Those are what we consider to be life interfering behaviors, and that is always discussed at the top. The next thing that we target in DBT, and the thought is we start with the life interfering, because if we don't have a client that is alive or can participate in therapy, they can't get better. That's just how it is. So then the next target that we have when we're doing adherent DBT is we target therapy interfering behavior. So this is, ruptures in the relationship between the client and the therapist, coming late to session, not paying your bill for your sessions, not doing your homework, not completing your diary card. And there's also where the therapist targets their therapy interfering behaviors. So we generally bring that to the consultation team, or if appropriate, we bring it up to the client. If we notice that there's a rupture and there is burnout from doing phone coaching too often, or feeling that the therapist is not feeling valued or respected, these are things that we target and we talk about. The thought is that the clients that we have in DBT, they tend to burn out therapists. They tend to bring issues into the sessions that can make life very overwhelming for the therapist, and we talk about it right away. If we notice that there is a therapy interfering behavior, it is our responsibility as clinicians to bring it up to our clients. That way we feel okay working with this client, that we don't get to the point that we want to get rid of the client and dismiss them from therapy. It is understood that when we're doing DBT, that once they are a client, the only way out of DBT is to miss 4 sessions in a row. So if you have ever been to a DBT clinician and you have been dismissed from their practice, you have not done adherent DBT. Now, there is something that we as clinicians can do within the DBT framework where we can put a client on a vacation. And what that means is that we have done everything that we possibly can to help this client stay in therapy. However, there is some sort of behavior that is so interfering with their therapy that we put them on a vacation so they can work through it. One of those things that we put a vacation, we give the client the option to do a vacation, is if they don't feel that DBT is right for them, we will ask them to go talk to potentially another therapist to work through whether or not this is the right treatment for them. And the thing about that is they are welcome back. So we do not dismiss from our practice. Even if a client threatens to kill us, we have to figure out how to manage that. That is the big difference between adherent DBT and informed DBT. We understand that these clients can sometimes, really challenge their therapist, really challenge. And we have to figure out as clinicians how to target that therapy interfering behavior and reduce it. We also, as adherent DBT therapists, and this can also show up in informed, there's certain things that certain skills that we learn to do as therapists. These include techniques like devil's advocate and calling out the elephant in the room, walking where angels fear to tread. We also have a lot of irreverence in our sessions. And what that means is that we aren't always so serious. We say things sometimes to disrupt what's going on. We will say something like Marcia says, one of her irreverent statements that I absolutely adore, I noticed that judgment that I adore it, is she had a client that's like, I'm going to kill myself. And she said, wow, you gave a 6-month commitment to do DBT. If you're dead, I guess you're not going to honor your commitment. That's irreverence. We also do reciprocal, which is more standard for regular therapy. We also in DBT we minimize hospitalizations. As the DBT adolescent book goes over, we as clinicians, we are able to do what is asked of the client. We need to learn how to tolerate suicidal thoughts and urges. We need to not freak out with that. We need to be able to set up a client so that way they can stay in the community and not constantly utilize hospitalizations to cope effectively with their suicidal thoughts and urges. So if you have a clinician that claims that they're DBT and they're often Baker acting their clients, you're not having a DBT adherent provider. And that makes a big difference, because in adherent DBT, we, as much as possible, we use the LRAMP to screen for suicidality, and that's the Lenahan Risk Assessment Protocol. We use that tool in order to figure out what to do with that client. It's different than a lot of other screening tools. So even that, the use of the LRAMP shows whether or not you have an adherent provider or if you have an informed provider. There is also as well that we have the 4 different parts of DBT if you're adherent. You have individual therapy, and that's where you have a therapist that works within the protocols of DBT using that book to make sure of adherence. We also belong to a consultation team of other DBT clinicians. For our practice, we meet with clinicians one is from another country, from other states, and we meet every Wednesday at this present time. And with our DBT consultation team, we start with a mindfulness exercise, we set an agenda, we figure out what we need from the team, we can ask for empathy building, we can staff cases, we can ask for problem solving, we can ask for validation. And DBT consultation team is considered therapy for the therapist, because it is understood that we need a lot of support to be able to adhere to the protocols, that we need a lot of support to work effectively with sometimes what can be considered very challenging clients. And so we have that part of it. And so then the third part that we have is the phone coaching. Phone coaching, I have seen not being offered by people that say that they're doing DBT. Phone coaching is in between sessions. Clients can reach out. At this practice, we do it by text. Other practices, they will do it by telephone. For us, I have found it to be more effective to do it through text, so that way clients can reference what was written instead of having to remember it. So we will do it through text, where a client will reach out and they will say, hey, Michelle, this is the situation going on. These are the skills that I've tried. I don't know what skills to do next. And I will ask them, do you want to solve it? Do you want to feel better about it? Do you want to tolerate it? They will let me know, and I will coach them what skills to use. In our practice, when we're working with adolescents, our other clinician, Amanda, she does parent coaching. So when I work with the adolescent, and Amanda will work with the clients in order for the parents to remain skillful. Because we understand that with adolescents, it's often necessary that the family stay skillful in order to coach the adolescent into more skillful behavior. Now, the fourth part of DBT is that skills need to be taught. Now, the most adherent is skills are taught in a skills group. At this practice, we offer a skills group both for adolescents and for adults. We were doing multifamily skills group for adolescents. It's been our experience that it's more effective if we teach the parents separately. It has been our experience that a lot of times the adolescents feel some type of way that their parents aren't as skillful, even though they're expected to learn and practice the skills. It has been much more effective to coach the client's parents individually, teach them the skills individually, and then teach the adolescent in the skills group. We do still offer the multifamily skills group for our middle schoolers, but our high schools, we do it with that because of what we've observed. And so those are the 4 different elements. Now, other parts of DBT that are different is DBT is considered to be a much more directive type of intervention. What that means is that we give clients the skills that they need to use. We also don't do the whole person-centered, meaning we're not like, and what does that mean? And what do you think you should do? And that type of, you have the answer within yourself. For a lot of our clients, we understand that if they had the answer within themselves, they would be doing it already. So we are much more directive. I know that when I was taught in school, don't ever ask the question why. In DBT, we're often asking why. We also do a lot of behavior chain analysis. The B in DBT is for behavior. So we're often examining why a behavior exists. What was reinforcing in the environment? What were the steps that you took in order to get from the triggering event all the way down to the target behavior? We then go through what behaviors that we could have put in their place, what skills we could have used to avoid the target behavior. We also look at the vulnerabilities at the start of that behavior chain to figure out what we need to do to prevent the whole thing from happening in the first place. So there's a lot of emphasis in DBT on the why you did a behavior, why you did a thing, why you did what you did, and what we can do different. There's also in DBT, we do a lot more case management than typical therapy. What that means that if a client comes in and says, I need help with a job application, we open up our laptop and we help them with the job application. It's also part of the modality that, and this depends on a clinician's limits. However, it's understood based on the manual that oftentimes we will do for a client what a friend would do for a client, within reason, of course. And what that means is the other day I had a client where their car broke down. I had time to go pick them up for their appointment. I picked them up for their appointment. I've had it before where I had a client that went to jail. I visited them in jail. I helped them with skills while they were in jail and how to cope effectively while they were in jail. We've had clients, I had an adolescent client that didn't want to leave to go to their appointment. I showed up at their house. We did a walk and talk to figure out what stood in the way of them coming to session, how they could have been more skillful. There has been a time where a client of mine decided to walk out of their house with no shoes. And I had the time, I had the desire, and I felt like it would be effective for their treatment for me to go pick them up with their no shoes and coach them into being more skillful. So in DBT, there is a lot more case management. There is a lot more meeting a client where they're at and really encouraging them to get to their appointments, to make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do, to coach them into more skillful use and meeting them where they are at. The other big difference that I noticed between individuals who practice DBT informed and adherent is adherent DBT therapists, we practice our own skills. We act in our everyday life mindfully. We practice our please skill. We practice checking the facts. We ourselves are actively practicing our skills so that way we can demonstrate that they work, that we can troubleshoot for ourselves where somebody might get stuck. The last, and I've touched on this before, one of the other big differences is we do not dismiss clients from our practice. We do not kick them out unless they miss that 4 in a row. And even if they miss that 4 in a row, we still want them to come back once there's one full round of DBT done. Even with that, that can just also be considered a break. There is not a behavior that we will dismiss a client from our practice. We consider all behaviors to be targets. And if there is a therapy interfering behavior, it is our responsibility as adherent clinicians to be able to target that behavior so the client can continue in therapy with us. These are just the brief things that I have seen that people that claim that they are doing DBT. And once again, I don't believe that is nefarious. I don't believe that they're plotting and planning. I just think that there's a lot of ignorance about what it means to actually provide DBT. In fact, I had somebody that I supervised for license at one point where they had come to me because they wanted supervision for being able to do DBT, and they themselves thought it was just skills. And they said, oh, wow, there's a lot more to this than just skills. I said, yeah, a lot of people think it's just the skills manual. Now, like I said before, there is nothing wrong with being informed. It is important that the client knows that you are doing informed, that you are not adherent. What we also know that is adherence is what has been studied. Adherence has the most evidence behind it as a successful intervention for chronically suicidal individuals, that it has the most evidence for self-harming individuals to get better. And with that, we don't have much evidence about the informed type. And with that, I strongly encourage clinicians that are seeing those stage 1 behaviors to refer to an adherent program, because I know that you want your client to get better. And I know that based on the research, based on the evidence, that adherence is the best bet that they have to get the help that they need. And by not identifying that you are informed, you are not giving them the information that they need to make the best decision about the treatment that they need for their suicidal thoughts, their suicidal behaviors, their self-harm urges. There's also too, where even for us, we will do informed. We've had plenty of clients that they are not in stage 1, that they have a pretty good handle on those stage 1 behaviors, and that they just really want to use DBT skills to increase the quality of their life. And that's the third target that we have, is increasing quality of life. And these are things like potentially substance abuse, as long as it's not deadly, that there is issues with relationships, issues with school. We target those last. And those are still considered stage 1. Once we get those all under control, then we go into stage 2, where we are using DBT skills to be able to address other acts, what used to be considered access 1. I'm old school. I learned with the DSM-4. They don't have the access anymore in the DSM-5, but whatever. Those are more of your access 2, like anxiety disorders, phobias, things like that. We target that after we know you're going to stay alive. We need you to stay alive before we get you over your fear of spiders or fear of germs. We got to make sure that you stay alive. So I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope that this has sparked your interest if you're a clinician in learning more about how to be an adherent provider. We need more adherent providers. I also really truly perceive that adherent providers, they're a special type of judgment. They're a special type of crazy, TBH. But, and I say that tongue in cheek. I say that facetiously. I do really believe, though, that there is certain characteristics that make it where some people are just more effective adherent providers. I do also believe that those characteristics can be developed if you do want to do adherent DBT. And I cannot stress this enough. There is nothing wrong with being DBT informed. I myself am RO-DBT informed. I am not adherent with RO-DBT. I don't want to be adherent. So I list myself, I advertise myself, and I hold myself out to clients as only being RO-DBT informed. Once again, I hope that this helps you be able to pick a clinician that is right for you, modality that is right for you, and I hope that this helps clinicians be able to want to be adherent and to make sure that they are telling their clients that they are informed rather than adherent. Any questions or concerns? Once again, please write them in the comment section below. If you find these videos helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Take care.